Hi everyone, in this video I just would like to show you how you can create great presentations with Beamer. So Beamer is a LaTeX class that allows you to create a presentation. So you can use it instead of PowerPoint. So Beamer offers very great features that I think it really is really beneficial to start using Beamer instead of using PowerPoint because it's like LaTeX, you just have to write the code and then eventually Beamer, the Beamer class, will compile all your code and all your text into a very nice presentation. This video is the first video of a course, so I will just show you how to get started with a very simple presentation, but we will cover all the important things and then I will release more videos in which I will explain how to implement additional features. In this video, I'm going to use, and probably in all this series, I'm going to use Overleaf, just because it's super simple to get started. You don't have to install anything, you just have to create an account. And Overleaf is free if you get like just a free account, which should be enough for you. And in order to get started with Overleaf, you just have to go to the Overleaf website and then create an account and log in. Alternatively, you can also install LaTeX on your computer. You will have to install a LaTeX compiler and an IDE to compile and to write the code, so then you can compile it. That's why I just want to go with Overleaf because it's much simpler. You can just do it from your web browser without having to install anything. Okay? So the first thing that you need to do in Overleaf, you just log in into your account and then you click on New Project. In this case, we are going to start with a blank project. In the next video, I'm going to show you how to start with one of their templates. Okay? So you can see that here they will have also some templates which are very beautiful, but I will show you that in the next video. I just want to go over the basics. So we start with a blank project and we just have to just select a name. So we say YouTube get started Beamer, and then we create our new project. Since we started with a blank project, the file practically does not contain anything. Okay, so by default, Overleaf will start a LaTeX, just a normal document. So as you can see here, document class is selected to be article. But in this case, we're going to change that and we're going to change it to Beamer, okay? Because we want to have a Beamer presentation, we don't want to have a document. So another nice feature of Overleaf is that you can write the text here, even in rich format, as you can see here. But then on the right side, you see all the results of the PDF, which gets compiled, okay? So first thing first, let's delete the code that is provided by default in Overleaf, and don't worry too much about the code because I will share the code later on, and let me actually increase a little bit the font so it probably is easier for you to see. And I will share the code on GitHub, so check the link description where I'm going to share the code. Okay. The first thing that we need to do is we need to change the document class from article. So just let's have a little bit more space. So here on the left, if you're not familiar with Overleaf, you have all the files. So now we're just going to have our main file only. So we can actually collapse this tab and then we have a little bit more space. So the first thing that we need to do is to change the document class from article to Beamer. Okay. We have to use this UTF-8 input tech package, so that's by default. And then we are going to add what? So the first slide is going to be most likely the title page. Okay, so we just write a comment and we say title page here. And then what do we need to specify? We need to specify a title. Okay, and as you can see, Overleaf is nice because as you start typing, then it provides a suggestion. Okay, so example presentation. Okay, so we need to specify the author, and in this case we just have the curly bracket, here, and we just have to specify the name of the author. So author, and then with our surname. Okay, let's call it name and surname. Okay, and then after the author, we want to add the institute. You don't have to, but you can add the institute. And we call it just university. This is going to be a very, very simple example. We are going to go more in detail later, and we're going to see how we can change this. And then we have the date. Okay, so we specify the date, and in this case, we just put 2020. Okay. So now that we have specified our title page, so only the title page will be specified actually outside the Beamer document. Okay, uh, just this part here is going to be outside the Beamer document. Now we're going to initialize the Beamer document. So how do we do that? We just have to type begin, okay, and we type document, okay. Every time you have an opening tag in Beamer or in LaTeX in general, you also have to have a closing tag. And as you can see, Overleaf is helping us because it's doing that by default. So every time we open a document or we begin a document, we also have a closing tag, which in this case is going to be end document. Okay? Then what do we need to do? So we need to add a frame. Frames are not exactly the same as slides, okay, and I will explain a little bit later what is the difference, okay, but frame are not exactly as slides because we can have multiple slides in a frame, and in order to have like transitions, okay. For instance, if you have a bullet point list and we want to show each bullet point appearing one after each other, we can have multiple slides inside a frame. But we are going to go to that in a little bit more in detail later on. So we need to start a frame now, okay, which is going to be our frame title, okay. And inside this frame, we are going to put our title page. So we just do this and title make a title page. Okay, so we recompile that and we should have our title page here. Okay, so frame title, as you can see, if you put something here in the bracket, you're going to see here the heading in your slide. We don't want to see that, so we're going to remove that, and we just want to see the title page. So we recompile that, and as you can see, you can press Ctrl Enter to recompile. So from now on, I will try to do that, so it's easier. And as you can see now, we have our title, name, surname, institution, and date. You will see that how these elements in the main slide get arranged is going to change based on the theme that you are going to select. I'm going to go over the theme maybe at the end of this video or in a new video. Okay, but just right now it's just a basic simple theme. Then after the title page, we want to add another frame, which in this case is going to be just a simple slide. So how do we do that? We just begin another frame, okay, and then we want to add the frame title, which in this case, so as you can see, you're getting an error because you haven't closed the frame. Okay, we are going to call it first slide. So this is going to be the title of the first slide, and we're going to add some text. This is the text of our first slide. So Control Enter, and now you should have a second slide. So we have the first slide with the title, and then we can have a second slide with the title. Again, how this will appear on the slide is a function of the theme that you have selected. Of course, now, if you want to add a second slide, you can just copy and paste what we have just done here, and we're going to call it second slide, and this is the text of our second slide. We compile it again, and we're going to get our second slide. And from now on, we are going to use always this command to add the new slides to our page. Okay? So now that we have covered that, I think we can just go over and improving slightly our title page. Okay? Because in this title page, for instance, we just have a main title, but we don't have a subtitle. So we can do that by just adding this command, so subtitle. We can just add a subtitle, and we can just say this is our subtitle. Again, we compile it, and that should appear on the slide, and is actually appearing as wanted. But most likely, for instance, if you have a presentation for a conference, you most likely are going to have more than one author which have contributed to the project. Okay, so that's optional. You don't have to have more than one author, but it could happen. So if you want to add two authors, we are going to change, and then eventually you can add as many authors as you want. You can change the author command. Okay, so we are going to select this author command here with the bracket before the curly bracket here, and we're going to add inside here, we're going to add both the surnames of the two authors. Okay, so we are going to call it one author, we call it surname, and the other one we call it do. And then underneath here, it doesn't have to be underneath, but then it's going to be a little bit neater. We can actually write the name and surname of the first author. So let's call this one, I don't know, we call it, sorry, it doesn't, I don't have a surname. I can use just my surname, yes. So we are going to put here in the curly bracket, we're going to put the authors, okay? So we can add me as an author, and we can add my name. If you want, you can add the full name, but in this case, we are going to just add an abbreviation. So then we add this symbol here, and we want to add this symbol here just because we want to have a non-breaking space. It's going to be the same thing if you leave a space, if you put a space. I think it's called tilde, but I'm not entirely sure. It's just the symbol that is just below the ask on the top left of your keyboard. And this is just because we want a non-breaking space, okay? And then we add the surname of the first author. And what also we are going to add, we're going to add a key or a command, then eventually to add the relative institution to this person, okay? So this institution, we call it inst, and then we are going to provide a key. So it's going to be institution number 1, and we are going to add that at the bottom. We are going to change the institute command that we have below, but just let's finish this one. So we add and because we have two authors, and then we add the second author. So again, we put J, the name, the symbol, and then we have do. And we are going to assign a second institution for this second author, and we are going to give number 2 here. Of course, if both authors belong to the same institution, you can have institution 1 here and institution 1 here again. Okay? Now we are going to provide information about the institute. So we are going to do the similar thing that we have done above for the authors. Okay? So we're going to have these curly braces again, but then we're going to define the institute. So as you remember, at the top here, we have defined institute 1. So we are going to provide information about the institute number 1. Okay? So we call it faculty of engineering, and then of course I misspell it, and then we have very university, university 1, and then we are going to add and then we just type the second faculty of I don't know, science. Doesn't really matter, of course. You will have to add your information here and university 2. Okay. The only thing that we forgot to do is here we have defined institute number 1, but we haven't defined institute number 2. So let's recompile that and let's see what's going on. And as you can see, everything looks fine. So we have F Tartarini, so that's my name, with the institute number 1, which is referring to the first faculty here. And then we are going to have the second author, which we are going to have it here. Another useful command that you can have in LaTeX is double backslash, and this double backslash actually makes sure that this is going to be in a new line. As you can see here, I'm typing Faculty of Engineering and University 1. I'm typing this in 2 different lines. But if you want to put it in a new line, you have 2 options. Either you leave an empty space between Faculty of Engineering and University 1, and that should work. As you can see, the university here now is at the bottom. Here is not, because we have not left a white space here. Alternatively, you can even have everything on the same line. So we can go back here and you can have everything on the same line. But if you put 2 backshift, then in that case, you can have that university 1 is going to be on a new line. And just actually, let's compile that and let's see what is going to happen. Can you see? I have 2 backshift and I have university number 1 on a new line. So if I go back and I do this instead, you will see that University 1 will go back to the same line as Faculty of Engineering. So in my case, I like to have everything on the same line, and I'm going to leave it like this. But actually, let's do 1 and 1. So I just want to show you because I'm going to upload the code so you can actually remember and you can see that that command. Of course, just for consistency, just choose one or the other. Okay, so if you want to, you can also add a table of content. So at the beginning of your presentation, maybe you don't want to start with the first slide, but you want to start with a table of content. Okay, so that is pretty simple to add in Beamer. So again, same command as we did before. So begin, and then we're going to add a frame. And we are just, it's very convenient with the Overleaf because it's setting everything up for us. Just always keep in mind that you always need an end frame. So if that doesn't happen automatically, you will have to add end frame. And then we are going to add a table of contents. That is going to be our first slide now because it's going to change. So as you can see here, we have table of contents. And inside the table of contents, because right now is empty slide, we are going to add table, this command, table of contents. Okay. So now that we have added our table of content, of course, nothing is really appearing inside here because we don't have added any section to our, we haven't added any section to our presentation. So we have just added one slide and the second slide. So if you want to add a section, let's say that we want to add the first slide is inside section number 1, and then we are going to have a second slide which is also inside section number 1, but then we are going to add slide 3 which is in section number 2. Okay, so let's actually call it first slide, second slide, and then here we call it method or let's call it methodology or methodology, and this is a background, and this is going to be introduction. So we compile that. Of course, there is I misspelled something, but now, as you can see, you have a background. So we have table of content, we have background, we have introduction, and we have methodology. Okay. So if you want to add sections, we just simply add this command section here, and we are going to call it introduction and background. And here we add another section inside here, so before the third slide, and then this one we call it methodology. Okay, so we compile that, and you should see that nothing has actually changed in the slide deck. So if I zoom out, and let me just zoom out here. Actually, I just zoom. Okay, so you can see that the table of content only now contains 2 sections, and a very nice thing that we can, with Beamer, we can have is that you can actually click. This is actually an active link. So if I click on methodology, I'm going to be redirected to the last slide because that is inside the section of the methodology. Okay, so by adding a section, we haven't in fact added a new slide. We just are telling Beamer that this is going to be the beginning of a new section. Okay, this is going to be a beginning of another section, and we want this to appear in the table of content. Okay, so of course the table of content is going to be a slide or a frame because we have wrapped it around a frame, but the table of content, the section here, will not appear in our slide, in our presentation. Okay, so I think for this introduction video, I think that's it. I will of course upload other videos in which I'm going to go in a bit more detail, and I'm going to show you a lot of other things, but for just this introduction video, I just wanted to keep it simple. Maybe actually, let me just add a last thing that I want to show you, because I've already shown the section. We can add also a subsection, which is going to be introduction only. And again, I keep misspelling this word, sorry. But now, as you can see, you have the main section, which is introduction and background. And we could even add another subsection here. And we can have a background. Of course, this makes sense mostly if you're going to have multiple slides of background. So background, and then this is the second slide in this subsection. Okay. So now that I'm going to compile it again, we are going to have our very nice first slide with the title. We're going to have our table of content, which we can use to click. We can have introduction, background, and introduction and background, and then we have the subsection, which are background and introduction, and then we have the methodology. So if you go to the background, this is the text of our first slide. This is the second slide again on this topic. Then we are going to have the introduction, and then we are going to have the methodology slide, and then we can add a conclusion and one slide without with thanks. If you want to add one slide, last thing that I want to show you, if you want to add one slide without the title, this is you can say thank you for listening. Okay, so then we can compile. So this last slide now is not going to have a title, it's just going to have some text. Finally, last thing that I want to show you, so you have created your presentation, and practically you have created this text file, which is going to be here, is going to be in your Overleaf, is automatically saved. And Overleaf is very nice also because if you add the sections, you can also navigate here through this menu here. So now you can also navigate, and that's another positive feature of adding sections. But if you want to download your file, you can actually click here on download PDF, and Beamer is going to download our presentation for us, so we can open with any PDF reader of your choice. And again, we have the same functionalities as we had before. So we can click on background and we get redirected to this subsection. We can click on methodology and we can get redirected to this slide, and then we have our last slide. Thank you very much for listening, and please like the video if you find it interesting, or subscribe to my channel, and I'm going to upload more videos about this topic, about Beamer, and I'm going to make the code available on GitHub. Thank you very much.